Breaking: Black Hawk just went down in Hawaii, here's who happened to be on board. A U.S. Army UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter flying in Hawaii went down suddenly off the coast with 5 on board. Now passengers are missing and investigators are combing the scene where it crashed when they made some alarming finds among the debris. The Black Hawk helicopter was reportedly participating in a routine training exercise near Kina Point, Oahu at the time it went down on Tuesday night. All that is left of the scene is a field of debris that's approximately 2 miles out to sea, according to the Daily Caller. 5 soldiers were on board at the time, all of whom are still missing as of this morning. The only trace of these aircrewmen is the debris left behind from the crash. Coast Guard Hercules and Army Black Hawk aircrews have been searching through the remains of the Black Hawk since it went down at approximately 11:28 p.m. on Tuesday night. Reuters reports, rescue crews searched for 5 missing people who were training between Kina Point and Dillingham Airfield, also on Oahu, when communications were lost. Watchstanders at the Coast Guard Joint Rescue Command Center in Honolulu received a call at 10:08 p.m. from personnel at Wheeler Army Airfield saying they had lost contact with one of their UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters, WTKR reported. There's been no contact with anyone on board since then. It's not clear what caused this crash, but perhaps has something to do with the failed machinery that the military has been forced to use for years under Barack Obama. Just a couple of months ago, another military aircraft crashed in the US and now we're seeing there may be a common denominator. Recently, a Marine cargo plane randomly lost control in the sky and crashed horrendously into the Mississippi Delta. There were 15 Marines and a Navy corpsman on board and all lost their lives. Reports state a very sick statistic about the Marine Corps fighter jets that suggests about 70% of the fighter jets can't fly because there's a wild shortage of spare parts. Pilots also have much less practice flight hours. This is all a result of budget cuts to military spending which has potentially occurred under the leadership of former President Obama. So far there's already been 4 more aviation crashes than last year. This stresses the importance of not cutting military spending. The soldiers deserve top-quality equipment and proper training. The government must provide a proper budget so that our men and women fighting for freedom have the most training and best equipment. So far there's already been 4 more aviation crashes than last year. This stresses the importance of not cutting military spending. The soldiers deserve top-quality equipment and proper training. The government must provide a proper budget so that our men and women fighting for freedom have the most training and best equipment. President Donald Trump is dedicated to this cause and has already done more for our military in half of his first year in office than Obama did in 8 years. Unfortunately, the issues created under his predecessor's regime are so extensive that it's going to take time to correct them all. The Tuesday night crash isn't the first Black Hawk to go down in Hawaii, as 6 were killed in a similar accident back in 2001. The New York Times reports. 2 Army Black Hawk helicopters crashed in a remote area late Monday while on a nighttime exercise, killing 6 soldiers on one aircraft and injuring 11 others. The aircraft somehow came in contact with each other, but it was still unclear whether they collided, Rear Admiral Craig Quigley of the Navy said today at the Pentagon. Both pilots were wearing night vision goggles, Admiral Quigley said, and light rain was falling. The helicopters, carrying a total of 17 people, crashed about 200 yards apart, said Captain Stephen Johnson, whose fire company came from the nearby Sunset Beach station. Admiral Quigley said he had received conflicting reports and was not certain how the 2 UH-60 helicopters touched. They were taking part in an exercise over Kyaukau on the island of Oahu, said Major Nancy Makovsky, a spokeswoman for the 25th Infantry Division. I heard a big thud, said Perry Dane, who lives on Kamehameha Highway about a mile from the crash site. It sounded like thunder. It shook, too, like a big rattle. The accident came 3 days after a surfacing Navy submarine struck a Japanese fishing trawler off Oahu and sank it. 9 men and boys aboard the trawler are missing, 26 other people were rescued. The site of the helicopter crash is a military area accessible only by 4-wheel drive vehicles, said Mandy Shiraki, District Chief of the City Ambulance Services. We may now be seeing the very literal fallout of Obama's budget cuts in an area that should have never been compromised, since our freedom depends on these fighters and quality equipment to do the job.